As Americans across the U.S. receive stimulus checks, Republican lawmakers are furious over what they say is a blue state bailout included in the relief bill. Here to break it all down is Adam Andrzejewski, CEO and founder of the government watchdog organization OpenTheBooks.com. Adam, good morning. Thanks for joining us here on the National Desk.
Good morning. Happy to be on the program. Thank you very much for your interest in our work.
Yeah, well, an aspect of the bill drawing a lot of criticism from Republican lawmakers is this $350 billion that's allocated for state and local governments. What states received the most aid?
So it's California at $42 billion. And then you've got states like Texas at $27 billion and New York at $23 billion. Florida, even though they have more people that live in Florida than New York, they're only getting $17 billion. But not enough attention has gone to the $20 billion flowing to the tribal governments. Tribal governments have 3 million Native Americans, and that includes the numbers in Alaska and Hawaii. Florida has 7 times the population is getting $2 billion less.
So what do you attribute to that? Because as I'm looking at the breakdown, what factors determine the amount of aid each state would receive?
Well, Speaker Nancy Pelosi's House Democrats, they changed the formula. They changed the allocation from the traditional formula that was based on population to the unemployment rate in the fourth quarter. This had the effect of shifting dollars to states like California and New York and Illinois and New Jersey, states whose governors had their economies more locked down than states like Florida. Florida's the big loser in this. They'll lose about $2 billion. New York, California, they'll reap an extra $6 billion on the allocation change.
Yeah, and speaking of Nancy Pelosi, she did address criticism that she's received from Republicans regarding this bill. Take a listen to this.
The fact is that it's strongly bipartisan across the country. It's only in the Congress of the United States where the Republicans have refused to meet the needs of the American people, where they didn't vote, as I said of them, vote no and take the dough. You can be sure that all of their states and communities will be benefiting from this, and they won't be complaining about it back home.
So communities will be benefiting, but is that benefit temporary? Will the majority of Americans suffering from this pandemic, will they be able to go back to work? Is this going to open up the economy?
So in this bill, if you're very generous, about $800 million goes to people who are suffering from the COVID coronavirus pandemic. And that leaves $1.1 trillion that's non-targeted spending. And I want to give you an example of this. The communities benefiting out of this bill. Our auditors at OpenTheBooks.com, we took a look at the 50 richest places across the country, and they stand to reap $100 million out of this bill. It's $2 million for Scarsdale, New York, the richest place on the East Coast. It's Atherton, California, the richest place in the country with the average household income over $500,000. They're going to get $1.3 million. For crying out loud, Beverly Hills, California is getting bailout in this bill to the tune of $6.2 million. You've got Key West in Florida at $10.1 million. You've got the county of Santa Clara in California. They're the richest county in California. They're the county of Silicon Valley. They're getting nearly $400 million out of this bill.
And Adam, what impacts is this going to have, this kind of legislation of this kind of magnitude? What's it going to have on the national debt?
Well, much of the spending in this bill is waste, but all of it is borrowed. In 2008, our national debt was $10 trillion. When Donald Trump came in as president in 2016, it was around $20 trillion. Now with the passage of this bill, we're going north of $30 trillion on the national debt.
A long time to pay that back. All right, Adam, thanks for joining us here on the National Desk. We appreciate it. Have a great week.